Hi all. Let's do some Docker. I have this text file here. I have 23 items. We'll walk through this step by step. Okay. First, you don't have to write down the commands in the video. You can download this text file from my website. If you go to this link here, you'll see the file here, docker.txt. You can right click and go open, and it opens up the file in your browser. Or you can right click and go save link as, and now it's asking where do you want to download it to, and I'll download it to my desktop. So now I have that file on my desktop. Let's start with going to the Docker website. Here's the Docker website. You can skim through this. There's a lot of information here. So for us, I presume you're just getting started. So we can click on products menu. See, there's these different menus up here. Click on products, and then we want Docker desktop. Click on that, and then we can download the free version of Docker here. Here's the Windows version. You can choose Mac or Linux down here. See, there's different versions too. There's a stable version, and then there's a version with the cutting edge features. You know, for the most part, usually stick with the stable version, because you might be trying to get something to work and it might not work yet in the cutting edge version. So it's best to just stick with the stable version, but that's a personal preference. So download Docker desktop for Windows. It's a small download. We'll download it to the desktop. And that's all we need to do here. So it's downloading here. While that is downloading, I have a Docker course that I'm putting together for Udemy. I got carried away with it. You can see here it's almost 400 slides, but it's just an introduction. It's for total beginners, people that are new to computers. You know, they might have surfed the web a little bit, played around on YouTube and stuff like that, but it's just an introduction to Docker for beginners. So I'll try to get that up on Udemy soon. What's nice about Udemy is you don't have to hunt and peck. You know, YouTube is great, but you got to hunt and peck for information. It's not always in the correct order. You know, you might be looking at introductory videos and then they get advanced. You know, and Udemy always has sales. You can usually get a course for somewhere around $10. So. Okay, so look for that probably in about a month or so. I'll try to get that up soon. Okay, so here's the Docker installer. It's an easy install. They call it painless. You just click it and it installs it. I already have it installed, but we can go ahead and run this, and it'll do what it's going to do. So just to show you how it works. Okay, so the installer could tell that I already have Docker installed, and after you install Docker, it's automatically updated. Every week, every month or so, they send out updates. Okay, so we're done with that. We can trash it. After you install Docker, you'll get a link on your desktop. You don't really need that much. And then your start menu, link to the same item. And what I found to be the important one, if you go to your notification area down here at the bottom, you've got a Docker icon here. That's supposed to be a picture of a whale, and you can see here Docker desktop is running, and if you right click that, you get this menu here. So this is the one that I seem to use a lot. Okay, so to follow my text file here, when you go to the Docker website, you can create a free account on the Docker website, username and password. That should be no big deal for most of us. Small form, takes 2 seconds to fill it out. Download Docker desktop, easy install. No configuration is needed. It used to be when you download something you might have to go in and set things up. With the Docker desktop, you don't need to do anything. It's ready to go. Okay, so in my Udemy course that I talked about, I go into a lot more detail on that stuff. I'm trying to get through this one pretty quick. So on the Docker menu in the notification area, there's a menu item that says switch to. See here it says switch to Linux containers. So what that's telling us is we're currently using Windows containers. 2 different types of containers: Windows containers, Linux containers. Okay. So here it says switch to Windows containers, or you can switch to Linux containers. I'll click that just so you can see what this does. We'll switch. It says you won't lose any information. Click switch. We'll do a lot of that during the video. And if you come back here, you can see here it's switched. Sometimes it takes a little while. Okay, so now we're using Linux containers, and it's telling us, do we want to switch to Windows? It's kind of backwards, the thinking here. Would make more sense if it said, you are using Linux containers. Do you want to switch to Windows? So here's just a brief rundown of what Docker does. Here it says, with Docker, we download pre-built images. When we download them, they call it pulling. You pull it down from the website, from the Docker Hub. Okay, Docker Hub is a popular area that we'll use a lot. You can download images from other websites too, like Microsoft. Just be careful you don't download images from websites that may contain viruses. That's why it's nice to just stick with the Docker Hub and other big company websites. We then use Docker to execute. We run the images. Okay, the image usually contains an operating system, either Linux or Microsoft Server, and an app. When we run an image, Docker uses the image to create a container. Okay, that's the important part. We run the image. When we run the image, it creates a container. The container, by convention, usually does only one job. That's the app. So here we have an operating system and an app. Or we have an operating system and we have an app. Usually the container only does one job at a time. Usually the container, by convention, does only one job at a time. Okay, so now that we have Docker installed, what do we do with it? Let's start a command prompt.